I recently posted on my community page that my beautiful friend Tamara from Tamara's Timeless Beauty was coming to visit me. Tamara took a road trip from upstate New York to Virginia, where my husband and I are currently staying. Her and Bosley drove down. It was an 8-hour trip. And we've been hanging out for a couple of days. We've been having a lot of fun. But I also mentioned on my community page that we're going to do a Q&A. So you asked some amazing questions. We have them all in front of us. Thank you so much for asking the questions and for watching, for all your love and support. We have quite a few questions. So this is going to be a 2-part video. The first part you are watching right now. And please make sure afterwards to go onto Tamara's channel to watch the second part.
They might not be posted on exactly the same day, but mine will, I think yours is going up hopefully tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Tuesday, so either Tuesday or Wednesday.
And then mine will be up on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. But we'll have all the questions between the 2 of our videos.
And again, thank you so much for asking all the questions and for being here.
Some really good questions.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to start with the first one?
Okay. Putting my glasses on so I can see. The first one is from Carol Mapleston, 916. I've been doing a lot of lifestyle changes since menopause that have been effective, but the last few months I have seen significant positive changes, and I think it has to do with 3 things. 1, I bought the Mito Red Light from your video you had a while ago with the green tea serum. 2, drinking some good electrolytes. And 3rd, amino acid and NAC. I'm wondering if you can expand on these.
So Carol, thank you so much for your question. I actually did write back to Carol asking her if she could tell me just a little bit more about these things, because I wanted to know, is she using a full body red light panel? Is it a mask? So are the benefits skin benefits or energy benefits? Because we know that red light therapy has many benefits beyond skin benefits. I also wanted to know more about the electrolytes and the amino acids and NAC, what sort of positive changes Carol saw. Unfortunately, I didn't hear back from her. So I can only take a educated guess here. Both Tamara and I are big fans of red light therapy.
Definitely.
I have made many videos on red light therapy and the benefits of it beyond the skin benefits. It can help with sleep, it can help with energy production, it can help with depression. There are some small but promising studies now saying that it can possibly help in the treatment of dementia. So there are many benefits of red light therapy, but unfortunately I don't know which ones Carol got. But I'm a big fan of red light therapy. So
but it's just fantastic that she's seeing some these positive changes from 3 of these recommendations.
As far as electrolytes, I think I'm a big fan of electrolytes. I started using them about a year ago, and I have some in my water bottle right now. So I use them daily. And I can't say I've seen a huge difference, but I've definitely seen a difference as far as a reduction in cramping, which is good. And maybe a little bit of overall energy. And as far as NAC, N-acetylcysteine, it's an amino acid that has many benefits. I personally take it. I take it in combination with glycine, so it's called GlyNAC. Both glycine and NAC are amino acids, and the combination of them has shown to have great benefits for longevity, for brain health. But yeah, these are all things that you could definitely see positive benefits with. I would have loved to know more specifically what they are.
Hey, but it's positive changes, so that's fantastic.
But I'm really glad you are seeing some changes, Carol. And then under that comment, actually, Colleen asked, she said, I'm looking for recommendations for electrolytes and amino acids. So do you use electrolytes?
I do not. I eat a banana. No, I don't. I'm interested in it though. So what are you using?
So I have played around with different ones. I even showed a couple different ones on my channel. For the last, I want to say maybe 4 months, I have been using LMNT. It's a popular one. Andrew Huberman has made it kind of popular. I'm not sponsored by them. They don't know what I exist. I don't have a code or anything, though I have been thinking of reaching out to them and asking if they could give me a code.
Discount
because
code. Yeah,
I purchase them quite frequently. Yeah. My husband and I both drink them. So those I really like. They have a good ratio. They have quite a bit of sodium. They have 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which might sound high, but for me that works well. and then potassium and magnesium. They come in little envelopes. I just pour one in my water and then I drink it throughout the day. And they come in different flavors. So that is one I would recommend. But there are other ones out there and I can list some down below. As far as amino acids, do you take amino acids?
No, I don't. I take a protein. I use a protein powder when I make my green smoothie, but otherwise, no.
Okay. And, protein breaks down into amino acids. Personally, the only amino acids I take is the glycine and N-acetylcysteine combined. And I also use a protein powder in the morning. I use a plant-based protein powder.
Mine is plant-based as well.
Yeah. I do know that some people do really well adding some extra amino acids to the diet. The diet might be lacking in amino acids, so they might just need more. I know Cheryl from Yoga Girls World, she likes branched-chain amino acids. Because I trust and respect Cheryl a lot, I actually purchased the ones she used and tried them. And to be honest, I didn't notice a difference, but I know she really does. So that's another consideration. We are all different. But unfortunately, Colleen, I don't have a recommendation as far as amino acids past the Glynac, which I personally take and believe can have some good benefits.
I don't have any recommendations either.
So, but if any of you have any, if you take amino acids and you have had good results, please share down below. Tell us what the results were and what you take. We just noticed that the sun is kind of right in our faces, so just bear with us. It's going to move.
It's going to move.
We're just sitting in front of a window here. This is not a very professional setup.
No.
So hopefully it's not too irritating.
Yeah.
Do you want to take the next question?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Martistrashan. Anyway, the question is, I am interested in learning more about the Alloy M4 cream.
Okay. So the Alloy M4 cream, both Tamara and I use, it's a topical estrogen cream containing 0.3% estriol for skin benefits. So it's not a hormone replacement therapy, it is for skin benefits. And I started using it about a year ago when I did some research on topical estrogen for the skin. I made a whole video on that, which I can link down below. And it's a bit challenging in the United States. Back then I was living in Europe and I actually did find some creams, but my skin didn't like them. So it's a bit challenging in the United States to actually find estrogen cream. There are a few now. I think Muesli has one, Alloy has one. But basically the reason I take it, you can say why you take it, is because of the studies that I came across. I
take it
because of me.
Because Claudia did all the research for me.
Yeah, so there were some studies I came across showing that applying topical estrogen in a concentration of either 0.3% estriol, which is what the Alloy is, or 0.01% estradiol, had really great results over an extended period of time, as far as an increase in dermal thickness and the reduction of lines and wrinkles. So those studies, they made sense to me because we know that when we first go into menopause, we lose 30% of our collagen in the first 5 years because of estrogen loss. So it made sense to me that not just using a HRT to replace that estrogen systemically, but we also have estrogen receptors in the skin. Made sense to me to apply that and see if it would make a difference. Now, do you see a difference from the cream, do you think?
It's very difficult for me to see a difference when I adjust my skincare, unless occasionally I see a difference for the negative. But in this case, no, it's a really nice, silky, easy to use cream. I think I've been using it 6 or 9 months. It makes complete sense to me. And because I've been using so much skincare for so long, changing one product doesn't always necessarily, it's not real obvious to me, but I believe in the science and it makes sense to me and I plan to continue using it.
I do too, and I'm with Tamara. I can't say, and I've said this in every video I've talked about it, I can't say that I see a drastic difference from it. The other estrogen creams I tried, I saw a drastic difference in that my skin did not like them and they really irritated it.
Right.
This one doesn't. It's very soothing. It doesn't have any other active ingredients aside from the estriol. But I also can say that I see an increase in dermal thickness, which probably would be hard to tell with the naked eye. That would be more of a visual scan. I see reduction in lines and wrinkles. But I believe in the science. I am planning on continuing to use it. Now, what I wish was that they would also put progesterone into the cream, because I just came across some studies saying that, and I believe the concentration of progesterone was 2%, that had similar effects to applying topical estrogen, and that the combination is really a powerful one.
So well, that makes sense too.
Yeah, so hopefully maybe that is something they're looking at. I can reach out to the company and ask. I have tried to find a cream that has progesterone and estrogen in it, and I did find one, but the company never wrote me back. So that is something about my Alloy. We are both customers of this. We pay for our cream, even though we have an affiliate link with them.
Right.
But I have had a very good customer experience. They're responsive, they write back. So that's something positive about them as well. So I hope that answers the question. So the next question is by Hungry Spencer. I like that name.
That's cute.
Glad to see you two will be getting together again. I'd love to know what sunscreens are okay to be used post-procedure. I'm always planning my procedure days around the weather to minimize exposure to the sun, as I exercise extreme caution for about 24 hours afterwards. But I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing this, but I see some people put SPF on right after medical microneedling or the next morning. So, Hungry Spencer, good job. Really working that around with the weather and sun exposure. That can be challenging.
Good planning.
Do you want to take this one?
I don't have too much to say. I have so many sunscreens. I've only had one in-office procedure in the past, well, more than a year now. I did a laser over a year ago, and the Moxie laser and the IPL, and I immediately went home and sort of hid in the house. They put sunscreen on me, I think, before I left. And then I used just mineral sunscreen. I really can't remember which one I used, 100% mineral, and I stayed in the house. I planned the procedure around the weather, and I think it was in March, so days were short. I was indoors. I haven't been very consistent with microneedling.
So I would say, I'm assuming that Hungry Spencer is talking more about microneedling than lasers. Well, medical procedures in general, but a laser, depending on an IPL, for example, is not really a laser, but it doesn't really break the skin, right? Or
Moxie was different, but
Moxie, Clear and Brilliant or something doesn't really open the skin. Versus microneedling, we cause tiny little channels.
Yeah.
So personally, I am very similar to Hungry Spencer. I try to work around the sun. So I try to do my medical microneedling sessions in the evening so that I don't have to go outside anymore. However, the next day I do have to go outside because I have a dog and she needs to go for a walk. So what I do the next day, I definitely put on sunscreen, but I use physical or mineral SPF. So zinc oxide and or zinc and titanium dioxide for two reasons. Zinc can be less irritating than some chemical filters, though I don't find Korean chemical filters, Australian chemical filters irritating, but American chemical filters are irritating to my skin, even if it's not after a medical procedure. The second reason is that zinc oxide is very healing, which is
anti-inflammatory.
Which is why it's in diaper cream, diaper rash cream. So I would say, if you can avoid it, don't do it right afterwards. But the next day, I personally think it's okay, but I would use a physical SPF. And there are some that are made for post-procedure. LMNT makes one that's made for post-procedure. I wish I had it here, but I don't. But that's a lovely one. It's a zinc, and I think I gave that to you.
Yes, you did. I took that home. I think I used that one after the laser.
Okay. So you could look for one that is actually for post-procedure. Like I said, LMNT makes one. I'm sure some other medical brands also make some. Or just look for a good, just zinc oxide, high zinc oxide content, and hopefully that will be okay.
So the next question is from Victoria.
And Victoria is a sweetheart. Yeah. So many of you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but so many of you watch all of our videos, both of ours, and comment under every video with just the most heartwarming comments. And I can't even put in words how much that means to me, and I know to you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because for me, this is why I do this, is why you do YouTube. And so I so appreciate you, Victoria, and every single one of you who supports us and loves us and comments and watches, because it really means the world to us.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
without you, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't even know each other since
Right.
we met over YouTube. So thank you so much for all your love and support and for asking these amazing questions.
Yes, absolutely. So Victoria says, that's amazing. I would like to know from two women I really admire how to treat people that put you down in your job or your relationships, such as friends or significant other. Do you say something or do you just avoid those people? Thank you for everything. Have fun, beautiful. It's a good question.
I think that Tamara and I are going to answer this differently because we have different personalities. First of all, I would say if friends put you down, they're not friends.
Yeah.
If it's an occasional put down because they just, were kind of thoughtless or whatever. But if this is something that happens on a regular basis, personally, I would get rid of them. To me, that's not a friend. I think at this stage in our life, we don't have time for that stuff. Same in a relationship. Obviously, that's more challenging if you're really invested. It depends on how long have you been together, how close is your relationship, are you married, do you have children? It's obviously more challenging. But personally, my husband never puts me down. I wouldn't let him.
He's a doll, by the way.
Let's say he would. He's obviously not perfect. Let's say he says something I don't like. I am very assertive. I will say, listen, I understand you have a lot on your plate right now, or you're stressed out, or whatever it is, for whatever reason he, said something like that. But I feel you're being unfair, you're being cruel, whatever, and I deserve better. So I have learned over the years to stand up for myself and be assertive and say, this is not okay. And of course, in a job, that can be more challenging, especially depending on how badly do you need that job. But I know that I have stood up to many bosses because I don't think it's okay for anybody. It doesn't matter what your position is, how high up or how low up. We're all human beings and we should treat each other with respect. Mm-hmm. So even with a boss, I would say, hey, I understand you got a lot of responsibility, but treating me like this is not okay. Mm-hmm. So that's how I personally would handle it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And there's degrees of put down or feeling criticized, or just, sometimes it's where the person's coming from. And so if it's more subtle and it depends on the relationship, sometimes I just give the person the benefit of the doubt, take a breath. If it happens again, then maybe address it a little bit more, directly like you do. I probably take a little bit more too passive of a role sometimes. Mm-hmm. In my younger days, I tended to be what I thought was like almost overreactive. And so I feel like my lesson in life is to take a breath and not overreact. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of finding the middle balance between, not doing anything, not saying anything, being too passive, and overreacting. So I don't know. I have to take some lessons from Claudia and speaking up for myself. But really, I don't have people in my life really that put me down. I'm retired, so I don't have to worry about coworker, issues anymore, which can get really, especially when you work with mostly women, as I did in nursing. It got a little hairy sometimes.
And obviously nobody wants to be put in that place, right? But a good example I have, when I first came to the United States, I was 22 years old. I barely spoke any English. And I worked as a nanny for this very well-known politician. And she was not nice to me. And she would basically, if I would ask a question, slam the door in my face and would say, I don't have to explain myself to you. And with my very limited English, I would open the door and say, yes, you do. Because if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not going to do it. And it's not okay to treat me like this. And obviously, we did not get along very well. But when I quit, I have to give her a lot of credit. She actually came up to me and said, listen, I didn't like when you spoke up, but I really respect it because nobody has ever done that to me. So hopefully, even though I was very young and I barely spoke any English and she was this very well-known person, hopefully she learned something from it too, that it's not okay to treat people like that. It doesn't matter what level they're
hierarchy or whatever.
We're all human beings. Yeah. So I'm telling that story because I think that even the person you set your boundary with, and people who don't like boundaries are not going to want to respect your boundary, but the person you set your boundary with eventually might even benefit from it.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Absolutely. So that's a good story.
Hopefully that helps, Victoria. But yeah, I would say friends should never put each other down. We should do the opposite. We should lift each other up.
Yeah.
The next question is by Martin Hamilton. So Martin says, first of all, I love both of you. You are flawless. Thank you so much. And also, can you talk about fat transfer to add volume to the face versus Sculptra? And then also lastly, I would love to see both of you do a chemical peel together. OMG. I'm not sure that's going to happen because I think Tamara is afraid of chemical peels.
A little bit. So this is probably going to be mostly in your ballpark, but I will just say, you know, I've never had fat transfer. I have had Sculptra twice in my temples. Sculptra, unlike hyaluronic acid filler, is more of a biostimulator, collagen stimulator. So versus adding, you know, the hyaluronic acid to add volume, it stimulates collagen. So I've had it in my temples twice. I liked it. It's very, very subtle. It's also expensive. You generally need at least 2 or 3 treatments. I only got 1 treatment per episode, so I probably didn't get the full value of it. But I think I would definitely do it again. Chemical peel, I've never had a chemical peel. So I know that you have a bit of experience with Sculptra.
So the question is well, let me look at the question again. The fat transfer versus Sculptra. So I had lost quite a bit of volume over the last couple of years, combination of things. And I decided to go for Sculptra rather than a fat transfer for several reasons. First of all, at the moment where I decided to do that, I didn't have much fat to spare because I had lost a bunch of weight, which is also why my face was sunken in. It was from stress. We lived in a moldy home. But also to me, a fat transfer seemed quite invasive since it does involve liposuction first. So the fat is taken from either your abdomen or your thighs, wherever you have a bit extra fat. It is first harvested and then it gets re-injected into where you want the volume. That seemed invasive to me, having that part of the liposuction, because it's just another procedure the body has to heal from. With a Sculptra, the benefit of fat transfer is obviously it's your own thing. So the body doesn't react to it. It's your own thing. You can't be allergic to it. With a Sculptra is a biostimulator, as Tamara mentioned. It is polyl-lactic acid. It's the same material dissolvable stitches are made of. And somehow we found out when people had dissolvable stitches that when they dissolve, there is a bit of scar tissue left, but also a bit of collagen production. So we developed Sculptra, which is the liquid form of these dissolvable stitches. Well, really, it's a powder that before your treatment gets dissolved or mixed up with liquid, and then it gets injected. It is not a filler. It doesn't add volume like filler. It is not instant like a fat transfer. In fact, with a fat transfer, what my understanding of it is that you often get overfilled because we don't know how much of it stays. I believe some people can keep 80% of it, some people keep 40% of it. That's also a chance I didn't want to take because you don't know how often you have to do it. Now, you don't know that with Sculptra either. I didn't know how I was going to react to it. But so the fat transfer to me personally was too invasive and too unsure of a thing. I like the idea of stimulating my body to produce more collagen. I like the idea of that. That's why I microneedle. It's just, it sounded more something that I personally wanted to do. So that's why I personally decided to do Sculptra. Now, Sculptra ended up not being the best thing for me personally. I had, I believe, 8 vials, and I made several videos on my history with it, or my journey with it.
Not all at one time. Boom. Yeah.
You have, well, my provider was very conservative. She believed in 1 vial at a time to see how you react. You do 1 vial, you wait 6 weeks, which takes about that long for the body to produce collagen, then you do another vial. So I went over 8, well, really a period of a year, spent a lot of money. And then finally, after 8 vials, I realized this is really not doing that much for me, and I have wasted my money. And then my provider said there is a new form of polyl-lactic acid, same material, a little bit different formulation, let's try that. It's called Lanuma.
Glanuma.
Lanuma.
Lanuma. Lanuma.
Lanuma.
Lanuma.
It is actually not a new product. It is a renamed Korean product. It is unfortunately not available in the United States, but it is in Europe and in Korea. And actually, the Natural Injector made a video on it. And she said that there has been a study on that Korean product versus Sculptra, and the Korean product performed better. And that was my experience. I had one vial of Lanuma, and suddenly you started asking, what happened to your face? So
in a good way.
In a good way. So overall, I had 2.5 vials of Lanuma, and I would say that 2.5 vials of Lanuma gave me more volume, way more volume, than the 8 vials of Sculptra. And I will put some before and after pictures here. But that is me personally. Sculptra, polylactic acid biostimulators, work with your immune system. So it depends how is your immune response to it, which is one reason you don't want to have it done when you have an autoimmune disease. It depends on your age. Usually it's recommended 1 vial per decade, which means I'm 55. I would have needed 5.
Oh my gosh.
Vials.
That's a lot.
So I think that both have pluses and minuses, and you're not going to know how you respond to it until you have it done. Would I have to go back and do it all over again? I would still choose a biostimulator personally, but I would choose Lanuma at this point, which unfortunately we don't have in the US, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But I hope that answers that question.
Anamete. Is that how we say that?
Anamete.
Anamete.
I believe
Pretty
she
name.
is from Anamete. If I get it wrong, I'm very sorry. Denmark, Sweden, somewhere like that. Let me know down below.
Beautiful name. Anamete says, that is amazing. 2 beauties. Have a blast. I would like to know if either of you do anything to avoid jowls. Neither of you have any inklings of them. And is there a chemical peel you liked and felt worked for the clarity of your skin and removal of spots, etc.? So, should we start with the jowls?
The dreaded jowls.
Yeah,
So, Anamete, one thing I want to say is, first of all, Tamara actually does not have jowls. You have other things
normal
you're not happy
softening.
with.
Normal softening. I have some neck issues, and let's start with this. A lot of the issues that we do have, like everybody else, doesn't always show up on camera.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You have to remember, though we are sitting in front of a window, I don't use studio lighting or anything. It's just the window.
No filters.
I do have tiny little ring lights on each side so we don't have shadows, but that's it. I don't have a filter. I don't know how to use a filter.
Right.
So what you see is natural, but it's still distorted from if you saw us outside.
It's still better than real life.
It's still better than real life, yes. I mean, Tamara has gorgeous skin when I look at her like this. It's almost flawless, but when I see her on video, it looks even better.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you say the same about me. So we might look like we're flawless, but really not, I promise you.
Exactly.
And as far as jowls, Tamara doesn't have them. I think jowls are a lot of it is genetic.
Genetic, yeah.
I definitely do. I don't necessarily, so jowls, what I think
what are jowls? Jowls are this thing, right?
Jowls are really here, but I think really the whole, I talked to Dr. Anya about this, I think the whole jowl area is really all of this, right?
Well, the neck too, right?
Well, the neck is more of a turkey neck. But I think jowls is the sagging here, right, from gravity and bone loss. So jowls is a combination. It's bone loss, it's gravity, it's genetics, it's volume loss. So I don't have this problem per se, I think because I have quite a strong bone structure, thanks to my German genes. But I have what is referred to as perioral folds. And I think a lot of us have that. And that is this part right here. That is just sort of loose skin hanging. And if I do this, it goes away and it looks a lot better.
Don't we all do this? Yeah.
So I definitely have that. It is, and I'm very much for I'm very much for self-acceptance and learning to love ourselves inside and out with what we see in the mirror included. But to be honest, when I look in the mirror, this is what I see and it bothers me. And if I wasn't so afraid of general anesthesia, who knows what I would do. But yeah, I definitely have them. I do things for them. I use my Ziip. I microneedle.
Oralift.
Do the Oralift. I don't know if any of those, if I wouldn't do those things, if it would be worse.
Right.
But I can't tell you that having done all these things has given me a dramatic improvement. But again, it might be worse if I wouldn't do those things.
Well, and Jowls is from laxity. It's from loss of elasticity. We are all going there.
Remember that what you see on social media, even though, again, we are as unfiltered as you can probably get on social media, but it's still, because of the camera, because of sitting in front of a window, it is going to look different than if you saw us in real life. And if you see me in real life, you can go, oh, she definitely has those things. And, you know.
Yeah, I mean, people ask me, well, how do you get such a nice neck? I'm not trying to hide anything, but in real life, I have a lot of laxity. I have a waddle. You know, it just doesn't show up on camera. But in real life, I have a 64-year-old neck, for sure.
Well, we're not trying to hide anything, but we also want to put our best angle forward, right? We're not going to film ourselves with the camera down here. So we obviously want to look as good as we can without hiding something.
Right.
But please know that I think almost everybody has jowls. Not Tamara, but everybody.
They're coming.
But Tamara is almost 10 years older than I, so a lot of it is genetics. You know, by the time I'm Tamara's age, they're probably down to here, and I'm going to have to lift them up. Who knows? But
oh my gosh,
I think it's so challenging to keep fighting those things. And like I said, I do things to address them. But there also comes a point where, like, okay, if I'm not willing to actually go under the knife and do something about it, maybe I have to just learn to accept it.
Yeah.
And, you know, do my microcurrent because I enjoy it and things like that, but not expect wonders. And I heard a plastic surgeon say the other day, I think it was Dr. Capel. No, she's not a plastic surgeon. I forgot who said that. That even if you have plastic surgery, the subject of the video of this doctor, and if I can find it, I will link it below, was jowls. Even if you have a full-on facelift, the jowls, this doctor said, are the first thing to return.
Okay.
So that's frustrating to hear. So yeah, I know that's not the most satisfying answer on a method, but hopefully it helps to know that, you know, we all have these things. We all have things we don't like. I try to not look over here so much because I don't like this right here. So there are things we all have.
Profile. Where's the waddle? Where's the waddle?
But I think also that we are our own worst enemies. Yeah. Now, if you would have asked Tamara before this video, does Claudia have jowls? She probably would have said no. Now she knows because I point them out.
Right, now we're pointing out all of our faults, and that's all you guys are going to see.
So keep that in mind. When you look in the mirror, your eyes go straight to the thing you don't like, and I do the same thing. This is what I see, you know, and I go, oh man, this would look so much better. But I want to focus on the things I like. My high cheekbones, my eyes, whatever it is, you know, so...
And that's what other people see. Other people's eyes are drawn towards your eyes, your smile. You know, nobody zeroes in on your jowls or
if
the
you
specific. Yeah, and if you do, then that's your problem.
So I know, again, that's not the most satisfying answer, but hopefully it was somewhat helpful.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is from Phoenix. And Phoenix, it's not so much a question, it's more of a suggestion, is saying she would love to see sunscreen videos as well as food and drinks and a day in our life. We are going to make a sunscreen video together, so that'll be fun. We thought about doing the food and drink, but to be honest...
Like what I eat and day here together. But
we're staying in temporary housing here on a military base, and the kitchen is quite simple. We're very limited with dishes and condiments and all of that. So it would have been a very compromised what I eat in a day. So I think we'll do that another time. And as far as a day in our life, we're spending most of the time in the house right now doing this.
It's freezing out.
On days, so I think it'd be boring.
Yeah.
Maybe when we get together in San Diego or when I visit Tamara in upstate New York, we'll do that. But do you want to do the next question?
Sure. So this is from Vicky. With regards to your up and coming conversation with Tamara, I would like to ask advice about a way to increase facial volume. Another volume question. Ideally, without having to resort to Dr. Rajani's ultra expensive cream. I couldn't afford it. I'm almost 56 and perimenopausal at the moment. My main concern is loss of facial fat.
So I think because I made all these videos on Sculptra and Lanluma, I have a lot of viewers that have the same problem with loss of facial fat. I think it's a genetic thing because, again, Tamara doesn't really have that problem. And Tamara is by no means overweight or anything because that was the suggestion I got, just eat more.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. It's not going to magically go to the face. It'll go to your butt, your belly, wherever you don't want it. But as far as, so Vicky was referring to the Dr. Vijani cream that I'm testing right now. And I will make a full review on that cream. It contains volufiline, which is a trade name ingredient from the company Sederma in France, and it promises to be lipofilling, so add volume. So far I'm underwhelmed and I don't think it's worth the price, but like I said, I'll make a whole review on it. I don't think we're there with topicals. So we talked about facial, we talked about Sculptra and fat transfer. I think, in my opinion, those are the best options. I don't think we're there with topicals. At least not to the point where you can actually see a difference if there's extreme volume loss. Now, if there's maybe a tiny bit under the eyes or something, then maybe something topical could be beneficial. But for real volume loss, like what I experienced, I don't think a topical is going to touch that. I'm going to keep trying different things and see if there is something that I do find works. And I, of course, will keep you posted. But at this point, I don't think we're there, unfortunately.
It's so nice of you to test all these expensive products for us.
So I think we answered about half of the questions. So we're going to take a break, or we're not really going to take a break. We're just going to switch cameras, put Tamara's camera on here, and we're going to continue with the other questions. But like I said, make sure, please, to head over to Tamara's channel, which the video is going to be up a couple of days after, and watch the rest. And thank you again so much for your amazing questions, for your love and support. We wouldn't be here without you. We so appreciate every single one of you. And we'll see you on Tamara's channel.
Yay. Thank you.